So joining me as we sit in a very classic and iconic Austin location off of South First in Austin, Texas, here inside the Bolden Creek Cafe, joins me around the table today as we look at a flute player. I can't really say it any more basic than that. However, this is not a basic flautist. Is that correct? Am I saying it flautist?
You can say flautist or you can say flutist.
Okay, we'll just go with a flute player. I think I can manage that.
I like that one best.
In front of me right now, joining me here today, thank you very much, is Sarah Jane Hargis. I think I can get that right. And then she'll probably say no, but that's good. Sarah Jane, great to see you. Thanks for joining me today as we look at kind of your really exciting take on what flute playing should maybe really be about, because this is exploration and experimentation and improvisation and, well, anyway, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome, very welcome. You're a performer, you're a composer, you are schooled in music, you have 2 degrees, one from the University of Mexico. Tell me just a little bit about the background of that before we get into the really deep nitty-gritty of the cool stuff that you do with the flute these days.
Well, just to be clear, it's from the University of New Mexico.
Oh, did I not say new?
No, you didn't, but that's okay.
Okay, my notes said new. I promise you, I could show you my notes.
There's New Mexico and Old Mexico.
Okay.
But it's New Mexico.
All right, let's skip that. Go on, I'm joking, carry on.
Okay, so when I did my master's at the University of New Mexico, it was an amazing experience. It had been about 10 years from when I got my first degree, which is from Eastern Kentucky University in music education. And then I went out and I was a music educator for a while. And I decided I wanted to go back and do the flute full time. And I love it. I had such a great experience and had a wonderful teacher there. I was just playing all the time. And that was where I started exploring with putting guitar pedals to my flute.
So, perfect segue into what we really want to explore today, and that is that you took classical orchestral music and started to compose, started to write your own stuff, and then went through sampling, recording, looping, and laying down lots of tracks and beats and all kinds. Just incredible. So tell me, I've seen it done with guitar players, I've seen it done with guys who do dub stuff out on the street, but with a flute? Well, okay. Sarah Jane calls herself the Rockstar Flutist, and her website is rockstarflutist.com.
That's right.
So, to explore more, obviously go there, rockstarflutist.com. I'll put it on the screen. But how on earth did you have help? Did you just sort of wake up and go, Eureka!
I'm going to do this. Well, when I was a kid, my mom was married to a guy in a rock band, and I would go to the rehearsals and totally enjoyed watching them play with effects on the guitars and bass and stuff like that. And then when I started playing flute, I always had this idea since I was little, oh, wouldn't it be cool to put it to flute? And then one of my friends that I met during my master's degree said, well, let's try it. And so he would go to pawn shops and find different pedals, and then I would go to his house, and he and his wife would make me dinner, and then we'd experiment with flute and pedals.
So the experiment was based on dinner.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Everything in my life is around food. I'm a big foodie.
Well, we're in the right place. Austin is a great food city, and where we are right now is a superb cafe, and I guess we should do some little video shots because it's really cool. You can only see out of the window, but where Sarah Jane is looking behind me, the bar is good, coffee's excellent, decaf or full strength.
Cappuccino or espresso.
That's it. Now, on top of this go on.
I want to tell you something else about that.
Go on.
So we were experimenting and kind of recording, and we were using just GarageBand on my computer. And then I started traveling around to see what I was going to do next. Well, I taught at a university for a year, but it was just a 1-year appointment. And then I was like, well, I want to explore that flute thing, the flute and pedals and electronics again. And so I went and started taking lessons from different flutists around the U.S. because I didn't have a job or like any specific place I needed to go. So I was like, I'm just going to go and take lessons and find someone to study with and explore this some more. Well, I actually went to take a lesson with someone in Colorado who was from Texas. And I opened up my computer where we had been working on one of the pieces that we were doing these experimentations with. And she was like, what is that? And she had me play it for her, and she was totally impressed. She was like, you should do this more, and why aren't you showing this to the world? And so that was really what was a big turning point, and me going for it more and more. And so then when I started looking at different cities that I really wanted to settle in and to try this experimentation, Austin won.
So, for me, just thinking of anybody who says the word flute, you always think orchestral, you think classical, and that's right, most people do. But you've also combined the playing of it into a live performance art, and if I can say, you've done it in a way that has a visual aspect as well now.
That has what?
A visual aspect as
yes.
well. You've gone very. You've gone both lanes. You know, you've gone with the audio, you've gone with the visual, and you've gone with the street sort of style performance. But you're doing gigs all around the world, or at least planning some more, as we were talking over coffee earlier. Tell us about that.
Well, recently I've been doing some work with Etherwave, who is also based in Austin. And he does liquid light shows. So we have like the music that I'm doing with the looping and everything, but also combined with a liquid light show behind me, where we also have some experimental films going, some experimental films from the 30s and 40s. And so that's going on behind me while I'm performing and looping live. And it's just been a joy. And
so they're using projectors with the liquid gel
they have,
and all
he
that.
has a bunch of things going on, so it's kind of cool. So he has a few different experimental films that we've picked out that kind of go with the writings that I've done or the arrangements. And then he takes the gel things that turn around, but he also will take oils and paints and water and mix them together so that they actually create art while I'm playing. So
your music is your music working with his art, or is his art working with your music, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that one of the things I love about Etherwave is he'll ask me, what is this song about? And then he'll take that and apply the art that he's making to try and convey what it is that I'm performing.
What's one of the highlights of one of your live performances to date? What's left you with that biggest inner smile of like, oh yeah?
Oh, well, gosh, that's a great question. I really love when there's a piece that I wrote called Indigo Waters, and I wrote it about the area that I'm from. I'm Appalachian originally, and I kind of like incorporate sounds of train and like a coal miner, hardworking coal miner kind of beat to it, and some airplanes and stuff, airplane sounds. But he has like coal trains, a film that has like coal trains going by, and then because it's called indigo waters, he'll often use the color indigo with a few other like colors like purples and red and yellow. But then the indigo just really, I don't know, it really conveys the basis of the whole piece.
The meaning of
Yeah.
the music.
Yeah.
The guy that you're talking of, he worked with Pink Floyd.
Well, his teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
the
he,
Grateful Dead.
yes. So he studied with the guy who did the liquid light film or liquid light performances with Pink Floyd and Grateful Dead and a few other amazing people. And so he met this guy and started studying with him, and then he gave him a bunch of his equipment. So he has equipment from the 60s and 70s that he uses.
The album that you recently released was actually, I like it, obviously, with obvious reason. Saving the Queen
Yeah.
was released the latter part of 2016, and you have a favorite on there. Tell us a little bit about that album that and how it came to be.
Okay. What do you want first, my favorite?
I want to know your favorite track on there. And now it has to match what's on your website, because if I'll know if you're lying.
Yeah. So Bellow is my favorite. It's like, I feel like the best piece I've actually ever written before. And it was very interesting because I decided, I've written several pieces and I've arranged several pieces. And I decided that I wanted to go in the studio and lay down all those tracks. And then at the end, I wanted to do like a thing where they push record and I just play without having written anything down.
Okay, so very improvisational.
Yes.
And of the moment.
Yes. And we came up with a name. So we had like a dictionary and just opened it and it fell on Bellow.
And then that's how the name came to be.
And that's how the name came to be. And I was like, oh, that's really great, because bellow means a wild animal cry. And so I felt like that was kind of like, I'm like, through my flute, I'm making this wild sound and creating this whatever it turns out to be. So that's what we started with, was the name. And then I just went into the recording room at Arlen Studios and said, okay, I'm ready. And I just started recording and looping right there. And I love it. And it's really cool because there are a couple times that we caught that I was actually talking, but I had what's called the organizer on. So it's like a octave up and down and then a chorus in the middle. And it sounds like kind of a monster. And so we put it on there, and so then we came up with a story afterwards. It's like what is the Kraken?
The Kraken.
Yeah. So off the coast of Norway, if you can picture a dark night covered in, the shore is covered in fog, and this boat's coming into the bay, and all of a sudden you hear the Kraken stirring. So so Bellow is my favorite. Now the album,
Yes.
Saving the Queen, what inspired that album was a few years ago I was living in a house that had black mold and I almost died, like Saki Botrytis, super bad.
Nice.
Yeah, really, really, really deadly to human beings and animals. And so I kept getting sicker and sicker, and I wasn't able to work much. So I was writing a lot of music, and that's where most of the music that is on this album came out of. And not only that, I had this mask. Like, I got out of that house eventually and had to go through all my belongings, and I was only able to keep metal and ceramic.
Because it hadn't been infused with the nasty spores from the black mold.
Right. So I had to get rid of all my clothes, like all my earthly possessions, except for metal and ceramic and glass. And so as I was digging through all my belongings, I had this mask. Well, there's this artist in Austin, a graffiti artist that does Queen Elizabeth in a gas mask. and it looked exactly like the mask that I was using to go through my stuff.
So that's why on the album art, when I was looking at it going, what is the significance and the story behind that? I just thought it was because you were random, you know, but there's a story there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I love about artists that I come across and other people come across. Unless you get into the nitty-gritty with them, you never know, perhaps fully, unless you listen to an expose like this, just how and why a story or a track or an album has come to be. Because there's just not enough space on an album cover to write all that down.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people ask me why the mask, or they're shocked when they see it, especially other classical musicians. When they see that, they're like, whoa, what is that about?
I expect, you know, there's an expectation, isn't there, about a classical musician, a composer, writer, performer. You expect, it's a stereotype, perhaps is the right word, a stereotype of how they look, how they'll be carrying a copy of, in my country, maybe a Daily Telegraph. You know, it's a very big broadsheet newspaper, maybe a Financial Times. There we go. We can equate to that, you know, and they'll have a tweed jacket on, and you know, or maybe something if they're female, like a flowing scarf. Oops, there's a flowing scarf. No, there's a different type of flowing. You know what I'm about.
Yeah, and oftentimes they'll have like a picture on the front of the cover with the instrument, but the plan was to have that recreated but with me, and so I asked the artist if I could do that, and then I bought a crown that looked just like the crown that he depicts in the picture, and then I like got the jewelry to match, and that ended up being the back of the cover, because I had like my flute on my arm with a gas mask on and a crown. And then the front of the cover was just an accident, but we just fell in love with the picture. The gas mask was so heavy, I was like, hold on a second, I need to just break. And they started snapping pictures, and that was the cover. Now my flute's not even on the cover.
No, I know. We'll also include some little snippets in this, so I'm sure that Saving the Queen will be heard by quite a few after this interview. What's next for you? Just wrapping up and surmising, what's next for you? You've got some planned tours, you've got other performances coming out with the with light shows that you're doing. You've got another album later this year, maybe, or?
Well, I think that I'm going to probably be starting in late fall for another album. I actually do have another album coming out probably in summer, early fall, with a guitarist, Steve Haskin. And I think he's actually at austinfluteandguitar.com, and anyway, I'm really excited about that album, but also I'm going to be starting to write some newer stuff, maybe some more upbeat things, and I'm starting to play with a beat machine to see what kind of experiments I can do with that and the flute.
So you not only do you do blues, jazz, pop, electric, you're now classical, thank you. You're now branching out continually. I love it.
Well, I've always imagined having like some dub, like some of that big bass, like kind of with my flute. So that's what I'm going to experiment with.
This will be fun. This will be fun. another string to your bow if ever you were playing a violin. So I don't know what we could use that in flute terms, but another, I don't know, valve. I don't know. Anyway, but another string to your bow. Taking a flute to a whole new level.
Yeah, another toot for my flute.
Joining me around the table here in the center of Austin, in the lovely state of Texas, on a beautiful spring lunchtime. This is Sarah Jane Hargis from rockstarflutist.com. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with me the insights of your album, your tours, your music, how you're composing stuff and just reinventing and making music great. It's just being your own spirit. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like a playground for me.
There you go.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great